call the meeting to order. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I always want to say amen.
A lot of people. You're not alone. All right.
Okay. Everybody get a chance to look at the minutes.
Yeah.
Members present, you have that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
The minutes and, I just, there was kind of some confusing grammar a couple places, but the points were all there, I thought, and it was good.
There's one small misspelling I found, I gotta look for it. And I think it's on page 2, the word lead should read, there it is, it's in the second page under C, line 3. It says which lead, it should read which led your, yeah, so just a little near typo, whatever it is.
Good catch. Was a school teacher at one time.
I was correct.
Wow, good guess.
Okay. Anything else? So, a motion to approve the minute.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes with corrections that Ken has made.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
I
Okay. I don't really have much to report. I did go to the supervisors meeting and reported on we gave them a copy of our annual report. They were very complimentary of the fact that when they looked at what we had done, and I explained that it was really an educational year for most of us, that we were trying to learn what our responsibilities were and weren't. And they seemed pleased and did say that they wanted us to do some actionable kinds of things, and that specificity they thought was important. Anything else that you picked up from their comments?
We had the River of the Year Festival.
Yeah,
So I think I don't know how many of you came. I was running around, so I'm sure all of you were there, but I know I bumped into Ken and it was really surprisingly good turnout. We had at least, I would say 400 people.
Nice.
And it would have been double that if the weather not been so bad. I mean,
Yeah,
so.
well, I
yeah,
think it was impressive that you mentioned that most of our township, the border is the river, and that it's a big responsibility when you think about it.
yeah. Pat, our next event's gonna be the trunk or treat. It'd be nice if members of the EAC would bring their vehicles and just have some candy. That's I think it's the 27th of October this year.
Okay,
But it's always good, like if we do a River of the Year analog next year, we might just
Year
call it
trunk,
like
trunk or
Delaware
treat.
River Festival, or maybe make it like a community day. But I know the supervisors would like to see some of the township groups there to talk about like what township governance does and things like that. So it's just something to think about.
okay, I think you should remind us periodically of that.
Yeah,
And October, I will put it on my calendar, October what?
I believe it's 27th.
Okay,
It's good to have. The involvement. Sorry, I'm a little distracted, just.
So what's the official name again?
I'm sorry, it's October 25th. The trunk or treat, we had a really good turnout
Trunk
last
or
year.
treat, okay.
Yeah, we had a really good turnout. There was like 300 people. Just mostly kids and their parents, and they kind of went around, and we had about 20 people, just members of the public, who dressed up in some sort of costume of some sort and just participated in it. So it's a great time to meet people and talk to them. It's
Nice.
actually pretty fun.
So what is trunk referred to exactly?
It's like you set up, you drive
the
a
trunk
car.
would be far.
Yeah, you
Oh,
drive,
the trunk of, okay.
you drive a car in.
Trunk?
It's
Oh,
often.
we don't have trunks.
I was thinking of an elephant for some
Yeah.
reason.
long as we don't have,
You can make it themed, so people dress up as like a witch, and then in the trunk of your car, there'll be like witch related, like cauldrons with like candy and things like that. It becomes almost like it's not super related to the EAC, but it is environmental. I mean, it is community, not super environmental, but it's an opportunity for you guys to participate if you want. I feel like the Delaware River Festival it would have been, I think next year, it would be nice if we could get an environmental advisory council table where,
I do too.
yeah.
Yeah.
And while we're kind of on the subject, if anyone has any suggestions of a replacement for, Brett, let me know, and I'll be happy to talk to him and tell him what it's all about, and this and that. I have contacted one person, and she's thinking about it.
So it must be a Smithfield Township.
Yeah, there should be someone that lives in, it has to be someone who lives in the town.
If I looked into your ordinance, oftentimes these commissions have alternates. Where you can have, let's say, 7 official members and then like 2 or 3 alternates. That way they'll show up, they can't vote on things, but they can still participate. But then if somebody doesn't show up, they can fill in and make a quorum. Your ordinance doesn't actually allow for that. It allows for as members that no matter how few people show up, they still can't vote. That ordinance could be tweaked a little so that, let's say you have 7 regular members and 2 alternates. And then let's say 2 of the alternates came, they could actually fill in and make a quorum as well.
Let's do that. Do we need how do you feel about that? I think that's a good idea.
what does the ordinance say? I think it says 7, right?
It's 7, but then you can have 2 like non-voting members.
It's 7 plus 2 none.
Up to 2 non-voting members.
Okay.
The problem is that the way it's worded doesn't allow those 2 members to step in to help vote and meet quorum when you lack attendance. That's sort of one of the purposes of alternate members, like on the zoning hearing board. There's 3 voting members, and then often there's like 1 or 2 alternate. And if one of them forgets to show up, then one of the alternates steps in and then they can still conduct business. That's pretty much how most of these boards work. The only board that doesn't have an alternate is the supervisors because they're elected officials.
Well, it doesn't,
We have that on the planning commission now, right?
I'd have to look at your ordinance, but most planning commissions do allow for alternate members.
So the ordinance would have to, I mean, we would suggest this amendment or whatever, and
Yeah.
the supervisors would need to approve it.
They'd need to advertise it for 7 days and then adopt it after a hearing.
So we can't just suggest somebody and that's it. No,
No, it'd be a process.
okay, as it should be.
Yeah.
but do we have a motion that we do that?
You like, okay.
I make it.
Well, you can't move on something that's not on the agenda, Pat. I would say put it on your
We
agenda.
can't?
No, like you can't,
It's up to the supervisors to make that choice.
like you can write a letter to them. I can draft a letter to that effect. And then put it on your agenda, but you
Okay.
can't like make a motion to do a thing that's not listed here, you know what I mean?
Well, let's get the 7 person first, right?
Yeah,
And then.
yeah. I agree. But it's just something.
I
to
was
think
trying to
about.
see if there was anything on the agenda we could mush up a little bit to include it.
No, Pat, Eric said he's gonna, find somebody, send some
I have
information.
information I'll send you for someone that's available.
And then next Tuesday, you can talk to the board and let them know that, like for instance,
What
today,
is your
He's a
work-
biologist.
Yeah, yeah,
you can tell the supervisors how, like, we almost couldn't have a meeting because we don't have enough people, just reiterate the importance of, trying to find a replacement.
Mitch has been having issues, so
Hmm?
Mitch has some personal issues.
Okay. It's worth pointing out these things and then that's why I brought it up during this, is you can actually talk to the board and say, hey, it might be good to allow for alternate members. Because they meet next Tuesday before you guys meet again. And so if they say, yeah, that's something we'll consider, then I can come back the next week and put together maybe an ordinance amendment or something like that you can then send to the supervisors.
So, change. What do we call those things?
Ordinance?
Ordinance. I don't know, I can't ever think of that word.
Can we have a letter? Can we have a letter, Pat?
Do we have a letter?
To have them send a letter to the supervisor?
Well,
Saying
we're
that we
gonna
need to
draft
fill-
one, right? That was the idea.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is, for Pat, she can verbally talk to the supervisors next Tuesday and
Okay.
see if they want us to, because I can draft a letter and I can even draft the amendment to the zoning ordinance. It's literally just a changing of wording.
Okay,
I could, it would be almost a trivial process to do so. It's just, I think it'd be good to see if they are interested verbally first, and then if so, then we could formalize.
I kind of think they will be because their comments were so positive at the last meeting that they did like what we were doing, even though we didn't think we were doing as much as we should. But I think that they would be positive. Okay, so outreach concerns?
Yeah, remember how the last meeting you wanted to modify the August newsletter? To the effect of
Yes.
making collaborative partnership?
And we have a draft that you did.
Yep.
So why don't we just look at that draft
Yeah.
and see if that is sufficient? Or if we wanna make some tweaks,
Are we talking about this document here?
yeah,
Okay,
get involved, when
Right.
it is headed, get involved. What was the one? Well, I thought it covered everything that, it was in the minutes, from our meeting. I did check that. Anybody have any specific changes they'd like,
I'm reading it again. I'm reading this again.
okay, why don't we all just read it?
Yeah, the big change is actually, the two bottom ones, the top is the same, it's just that, the other two have been.
And we didn't say, we need your help.
No, now it's we want collaborative partnership, and then there's specific instructions on, as Eric said, something you're passionate about, showcasing topics of interest, such, and then I gave examples, a historic site, open farm, educational hike, working on a project together, we'd love to connect with you.
Yeah.
And then if they have such interest, they can email me, or just introduce and attend a meeting and introduce themselves.
Mm.
And then, we should add some photos. I was hoping we get most folks here tonight, but no such luck. But we can even just put some, pictures of some of the parks or something like that. But this would be a nice August.
We had our picture taken.
Yep, that's gonna be the July newsletter.
Oh,
We did? I don't remember.
Me and Pat.
Since
Julia took it
Oh, okay.
this,
at their supervisors meeting.
we've decided to do the, kind of like official reopening of the farm for August 3rd.
Huh.
It's open to the public.
Huh.
And I'll be showcasing all of the sustainable renovation, so. It's August 3rd. If the newsletter goes out before then we can.
It's gonna go out after that, Eric. Why don't you we're being recorded, but what's the address, the time, the date, all those sorts of details?
Mhm.
We should at least commit as a group to showing up and then mention it at your next meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then,
Mhm.
do you wanna share the address or?
Oh, yeah,
do you wanna
yeah,
get
I
RSVP?
posted it that it was open and there's Facebook and all that stuff, so.
Well, can I say at the supervisors meeting on Tuesday too?
It's up to Eric.
Sure, yeah, I was just saying that we are doing the event.
Yeah.
We are doing the event, it is open to the public, so as the EAC, if we wanna say, we're going to be showcasing some sustainable building from one of the members of the EAC.
Yeah.
And show up to the farm.
Okay.
There'll be.
That's great. I like that. When is it? August 3rd?
August, it's a Sunday,
Sunday.
yep, it's Sunday, August 3rd, 12 to 5.
12 to 5.
Mhm.
Okay. Could one of the members here commit to writing a summary up and having that as the September newsletter?
Oh, yeah, great, yeah, I can do it,
Of the actual event, after the event is, yeah,
yeah.
that'd be great.
Sure, yeah, after it's all done, yeah, just.
Photos?
Absolutely, yeah.
It'd be good to just,
Mhm.
someone who's almost like a journalist, almost like a simple press release that we can say hey, have pictures of the EAC members.
Yeah, we can put it together. I can work with Pat or somebody to.
Is that okay? Yeah,
Yeah, I can give you I'll
Yeah.
give you the details.
yeah,
And then you
Okay.
can say, as the chairperson, you were there and
Yeah.
this is what happened, yeah.
Okay.
That'll work out.
Alex, I just want to comment, I think this is very well written, I think it's just fine as it is. Sam.
We can even include that maybe then, since it's going out after your event. Here, like, here's an example, like in
Okay.
versus add
Yeah, yeah,
photos,
yeah.
here's an example of an open farm.
Of our recent open farm, yeah.
And then we get,
How are you gonna do that? You're gonna put that in this?
yeah, now I'm like second guessing myself, maybe we don't need to summarize anything, we'll just use that as a first example.
Okay.
Cause it's like, you already have this written, and then we just add examples, maybe 2 lines that just explain, maybe,
Right, how to get involved if you're interested in sharing something you're passionate about, such as our most recent event, you know, the open farm, the Hempstead Farm,
mhm,
please, yeah,
the Hempstead,
yeah.
Okay,
Hempstead.
Hempstead, yeah.
okay.
And then everyone is available that Sunday to come?
Well, as far as I know,
August
Okay.
3rd.
nothing happens, yeah.
August 3rd,
Pig roast, seafood boil.
Oh,
Big Road,
Big
all
roast.
right.
Ooh,
And you said this is a Sunday, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
this is just to clarify, this is
When are
a
you
fun
starting,
thing.
4 a.m.?
This is
4 a.m.?
actually gonna be work, this
Is
is,
there a
yeah.
dress code?
Yeah, no, Sunday 12 to 5, no dress code, and there's, you know, it'll be live music.
Oh.
And, yeah, we'll do like an official tour probably twice
wow,
through the farm, yeah.
Hmm.
So it'll be a good day.
so that sounds like a good time.
Goats, bees,
Oh,
yeah,
So
I
it's kind
didn't
of like,
realize you had these.
we do, yeah, we,
How they doing?
well, you know, they're bees and they really love to swarm. you
Yeah.
know, And that's fine.
But
So-
they're
great, yeah, I was 40 feet up in a tree.
well, you've heard the old saying, bees will be bees.
Bees will be bees,
Mhm.
and yeah, and I was just like, okay, well, I didn't put in the 2 hours last week, so I'm gonna put in 3 hours now. And climb into a tree and get the swarm out.
you
So
got it,
I got it, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I got the swarm.
Would you,
I just
yeah.
climbed, it was in pine tree, so I just climbed up the pine tree, but
and
and
a serious commitment.
I called my dad and I said, I think I'm gonna need a spotter for this one. It's great.
So the event is basically an open house for the day.
Correct, yeah, it's an open house to kind of showcase this, the sustainable renovation of the 200-year-old farmhouse. We'll talk about, you know, building with all sustainable building products, including hempcrete.
are you having Gary Schwartz there?
There's gonna be, you know, Gary doesn't really like,
No, I know,
public, you know.
I know
events.
Gary, so.
But he's actually been an incredible help throughout the entire process, just because not a lot of people understand natural plaster and stonework and farming and just the whole thing, so.
He's a very interesting man, I guess.
Intelligent human being. We've had a lot of help from
What's
timber framers, cause you know, there's a lot of timber frame work in the house. We had a sawmill, so we cut our own wood there, and it's been a
So it's not stick frame, it's timber frame,
time
right?
frame,
Cool.
yeah.
August 1?
August 3rd, 12 to 5.
Right, I've seen your reels,
Oh, good.
okay,
Good.
I click on them.
All right.
Your bees, I see you lost your bees, you got your bees.
Yes.
Is that how you heard, did you hear?
No, I actually, we can talk about, yeah, stitches, yeah.
Oh.
Medicare or, home remedies, natural tinctures. We do a lot of our own natural
Oh,
tinctures.
cool.
But I had a beam fall off the barn with an old nail in it and ripped me up and, somebody stitched me up right there on the farm, so it was pretty, it was an eventful.
As
day.
painful as they are, I would still, and like, even though you don't
No,
like them, I'm a firm believer in tetanus shots.
well,
Yeah,
Well,
they're,
maybe
they're
one day.
important too.
maybe one day. But, yeah,
Thanks
so
so
that'll be
much.
nice, yeah.
Awesome.
That'll be a
Sounds
nice-
like a really fun
It'll
time.
be a nice day, yeah.
I'll invite other folks too,
Pig,
so.
the pig roast is,
Yeah, I have a really,
You have enough parking?
yeah, we have quite a bit of parking up on top as well, so, yeah. we'll be good.
you want libation or anything?
We were probably gonna bring in, Shawnee Crafts to just set up like they normally do.
Okay,
But yeah, I'm sure we'll be fine. You can bring whatever you want. We tell everybody, you know, if they've got something, you know, local that they've made or desserts or whatever dish they can bring.
I
Yeah.
got a pear tree that is
Oh,
going to
awesome.
It's gonna make a lot of,
Man. We did some pear chutney and, yeah,
drop a little yeast in
It's
it.
a relationship.
Oh.
His beef,
Your brandy.
quality, his pear.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we have a lot of pear trees, a lot of apple trees, the fruit trees are 100 and.
My wife loves apples.
Oh, great.
How many
So,
acres? I'm sorry.
She'll take as many as you have.
Yeah, we have quite a few, and a good friend of ours, Skip, Dietrich, local guy, he is also a beekeeper, he does the bees for Shawnee. He has done a lot of our bee workshops with us, and we've done, bee workshops where he also talks about fermentation, local, honey, berries, all the different alcohols and, different things you can make, and, one of them is a braggot, I think is called, so, yeah, there'll be quite a few, home brew, folks there that are gonna be bringing their own stuff,
Nice.
so it'll be nice.
How many acres does Hempstead?
It's 45,
45, so it goes up the slope, is that where?
yeah, up and down both sides of the road,
Is
yeah,
that
My neighbor,
yes,
we have,
That's where that old barn is at, right?
yes, yeah,
Across the street from your.
I do have the barn across the street, yeah,
So,
yeah, I haven't been in
so if
there.
you go
but-
past the barn, you missed it.
Yeah, no, yeah, going
is
up,
that
if
in the
the
barn?
barn on the right, the old barn closest to the road.
Yeah.
Is the neighbors, and then we're on the left-hand side,
Ah.
yeah. Yeah, we'll get everything. The heat is on, we've got. Sunday is 4 weeks,
Yeah.
so I still have 3 bathrooms to install. So, but I need a deadline, it'll be great, and you don't have to have everything perfect, but it'll be nice and open.
Yeah.
We won't have any of the appliances and things in, but all the floors and all the walls and the natural plaster and everything will be finished, so we can really show everybody exactly what's there.
My husband will be there in spirit,
Oh, great.
because he absolutely loved the fact that somebody was gonna do something. for
Oh,
that
great,
farm, and
great, yeah.
We visited a lot with him.
Awesome, awesome.
Did you put horsehair in the plaster mix?
There's quite a few places that we use some of the existing horsehair plaster.
Really?
Quite a bit of it was pig hair as well.
Hmm.
Cause I just assumed that they had pigs, they were using whatever they could, get their hands on.
What
But
was
yeah,
it built?
The original building was there in 1800.
I don't know.
So we don't really know when, but we know that some of these buildings around here were,
Did you check with the historical society about the paperwork?
the guy before me went to Northampton, cause this used to be Northampton County.
Oh.
And the Northampton County records showed a building there, a farm, that's all it said, in 1800. So if we really wanted to do it, we would do the dendrochronology, where you go into the old beams, core sample, 20 core samples from all different beams in the original, farmhouse. Then they take those core samples, they put them under a microscope all in a line, and they get an idea of the growth rings. And then they take those growth rings and they match them to known buildings with wood, log cabin style. And they can tell by the growth rings when the tree was cut down what year, which is pretty neat, but it cost $3,000, so. I figured we'll just estimate right now.
I would say you probably have a lot of investment. that you're doing, right?
Yeah, that'll be later, yeah, we need a couple.
I'm pretty sure there's a YouTube
Yeah,
on how to do that.
yeah,
Have you ever seen a program called Grand Designs?
no, but I'll check it out.
You should, because it started in around 2000.
Mm,
They went into like 2017
mm,
and they chronicled they kept people who built their own houses and did some crazy, build them with
mm.
mud thatch roofs, actual thatch roof. And the materials that they use.
There's quite a few people that have come there, timber frame experts, that have looked at the timber frame and basically said, yeah, 1800 roughly is what we are thinking. And that just had to do with the rough cut of the logs and how they were not, they were cut quickly and kind of haphazardly and then stuffed. So there wasn't, it was very primitive. It was a primitive timber frame build.
Have you ever seen the one on Mount Nebo?
It's very similar, but my logs are. They did not choose straight logs, they're, the trees that are in the wall are dipping down and they just shoved
Oh, I
everything
see.
through there, so.
They needed
Yeah.
a place for the winter.
Yeah, that's kind of what it seemed like, yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah,
Anything else that we need to talk about under the outreach? We did the newsletter for,
It's great. Now you have a July and August newsletter.
And we've got the upcoming events.
and how about the upcoming events?
That's
That's
the
covered though.
Yeah.
Sunday, August 3rd,
Yeah,
Open Farm. I'm
okay.
really excited you came, Eric. Thanks for that.
All right, so the next thing is the official map. I told James, but I didn't mention it to anybody else yet, that I didn't bring that up with the supervisors because I was afraid they'd ask questions that I couldn't really answer and it would create confusion, so how do you want to proceed with that?
Well, there's one thing I'd like to say before you decide. Okay, cause I started bringing up, when they put in the roundabout on 308.
Oh,
That they're going to eliminate exit 307 into Strasbourg.
Okay,
That's my understanding. So that is going to change the traffic. Because people are not gonna drive past 307 to go into 306, to come back down if they have to go to anywhere in the downtown area of Strasbourg. And I'm thinking that naturally, as for me, I look for the shortest route. And I think the people are gonna be reluctant to use 308 because there's a lot of traffic there. They're gonna go through 309 to try and find a shortcut. So we're gonna have a lot of traffic there. And moving forward, I think that this will present an opportunity for the town to grow in a direction that it needs to grow without losing its value as a town that's quiet and serene. Because what it'll do is bring out more people into the area. And I think that what's been going on with towns like Smithfield, a lot of people want to keep it so it doesn't change. But unfortunately, circumstances in life don't dictate that. But the way to control that is by keeping the growth so that it's only in certain areas. So it doesn't infringe on your backyard or my backyard, okay? Coin a phrase that Alex came up with, okay, which I like.
and your backyard.
Okay, or your backyard, so we can avoid. We control, so this way, we control what happens in the town. This is a much needed project. Because the state is involved, the Monroe County is involved, and then we're involved. We all benefit by getting people out. The more people are able to know or get out and mingle with each other, the better the town is gonna be. It's safer. Safer when people are gathered together, they feel safe, right?
Yeah, mostly.
And this will make that difference.
A friend of mine was visiting California and he was sending me pictures of all the bike trails and walking paths. That's like kind of just standard practice where he lives, and it just reminded me how this area doesn't have as much of that as certain other parts of the
As it
country.
should.
And it should, because we're a recreational area. The place where he was visiting was a recreational area too, and I think it improves quality of life. So when the changes that you're saying happen, you can still preserve quality of life. It doesn't have to become increasingly urban. You can still preserve some of that value by implementing bike lanes and walking paths. And this is, again, it's nothing committal, but it does allow for the township to at least put it on there as a concept so that, you know, you can apply for grants and you can do feasibility studies. But this is literally just discussion point. But I do think that having more of that sort of infrastructure in all of our communities is generally consistent with the recreational nature of Monroe County. And, you know, it's something to really think about seriously from a planning perspective.
Is this something that would merit some sort of a public meeting and educational sort of presentation of the idea that the river is mostly our boundary here, but I would think other townships would be interested in that sort of thing too. I mean, you mentioned when you presented this that we would need the cooperation of other townships.
Well, maybe, yeah, East Stroudsburg Borough is so far, because if it goes beyond. When we get to Price Choppers, that's Smithfield Township. That's middle Smithfield Township from there beyond. I think there's a buffer there, right?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously, I mean, it can't go past our borders. This is an ordinance that is literally just Smithfield Township.
Right.
The
So
loop just stays within the borders, doesn't it?
it has to, because we can't dictate.
Conceptually,
Well, I mean, that's regional planning that you're talking about.
yeah, and
That's what
don't we have to go to Monroe County about this?
Well, those are two totally different things. This is the official map. This is a planning tool. The comprehensive plan or comprehensive plan is a totally different thing. Now, it can be incorporated, like if you do this is pretty easy to update the official map. Updating the comprehensive plan is a major undertaking. This is basically, to answer your question, this would entail public meetings. So, but it has to, that's kind of what it says in my letter is, you know, what we're asking from the supervisors is to see if they even want to do this. Because in order to get help and do those public meetings, all three have to agree that they want to update the map. If all three of them say yes, then they can ask the county to guide us through. There's like 2 public hearings or 1 public hearing at some point. And, you know, the BAC could participate in that hearing, at least 2 of the supervisors do though.
Make a presentation.
But I think the letter in front of you is to try to memorialize what is on the map in front of you, but what's not on the map is also that you want to include some of the environmentally sensitive areas too. That's a way of formalizing the work that you did over there, right? That's not formal, that's just a thing that's that's laying alongside the wall there. But if you want to formalize it, you can actually adopt it as part of the official map, and then it's memorialized for the next forever until somebody goes and changes it.
Well, what would the supervisors have against it? Why would they might not want to do it?
It can be, this was controversial when it first passed in 2013.
The map?
Yep.
Why? Don't know.
I read the hearing and it just, people had a lot of misconceptions about what it was. They thought the township was, you know, like trying to take property, but it's actually not. If the ordinance is a little scary, honestly, when you read the language, it's like, oh, this seems serious. It does provide for some powers, but most of them are just, you know, they're not really binding powers. It just gives the township an option that then expires on certain, like, let's say that Joffrey's, like they adopted Joffrey's Ridge as one of the potential considerations, and then the Joffrey's Ridge people submit a plan, they wanna, you know, blast the entire mountainside and build a quarry there or something like that. Well, then the township would get 30 days to like, or I don't know what the number, but I understand the township has an option to like give them at least a fair offer before they can just proceed immediately. So it gives like a little bit of a break on certain things. There's certain powers in like sidewalks and things like that, like, you know what I mean? So there is a lot of misconception because property rights are huge in Pennsylvania. It's like the big thing here, right? So you don't, you know, that I think was part of the controversy was, oh, you're taking this and you don't have the landowner permission to put it on the map. Well, you don't need landowner permission to put these properties on the map.
Was
point to bring
Robert,
this
excuse me,
up.
my question, so was Robert on the board of
No,
supervisors?
that was
Okay.
that was before any of the 3 here were on any.
Okay, so we don't
Totally
really
different
know.
board.
Okay,
We don't know.
My-
Well, you can read the transcript.
No, okay, I believe, I just was curious if we could get our first-hand report or not.
I can give you all a copy of the transcript if you wanna table this and just see how controversial it was. I understand there was like standing room only full of,
Well, my point in bringing this up, if I were a supervisor,
yeah.
I would wanna know, not just that we'd like to do it, but what are the pros and cons? You know, what are the,
I don't think there's any cons other than the big controversy.
well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
What, the cons would be public reaction.
Yeah,
What has been, what's the public
Misunderstanding.
reaction in the past?
What I think the public should understand, we should understand, and this would just be a tool, and really nothing more than that, right?
it's literally just, it doesn't commit the township to doing anything, it's literally just a tool, but there's a little bit of controversy for whatever reason because of the misconceptions.
Okay.
That's literally the only downside I can think of is that people would misunderstand it and potentially try to twist it into something it's not. And then that, you see what I'm saying?
Well, I think as we're raising this to the supervisors, that we need to make that point,
Yeah,
because after all, two of them, or one of them's up for election. And, anyway, I just think
There's
if
no-
they're elected officials, and that they need to know what the potential public.
What the non-scary thing about this proposal is? It's that it doesn't, it's. The easements have already been set.
what
You said,
easements?
you said the easement on the roads, so that there's a buffer on the road that we're gonna use. That you mentioned,
There, if you read the actual ordinance, there's language on all sorts of things like that. I mean, if you wanna like maybe table this and read the transcript and take a look at the actual ordinance to see, because the ordinance does sound pretty serious.
I'm sorry, I haven't been
Was it
following
Matt?
Robert.
When you read the ordinance,
Haven't,
when you read the ordinance to the official map, it does read, like, if you didn't understand what was going on, it almost does read like the township is taking liberties on certain aspects of these properties.
Could I call a point of order? I
Okay.
have not been using Robert's rule of order, and I apologize. You had your hand up to say something.
Well, if I could remember what I was saying. Well, okay, so, basically, this doesn't say anything about a bike path here, and the map specific where it doesn't. I have, oh, I see it does, okay, never mind, forget what I just said.
Okay.
But this in no way constitutes a binding contract or anything like it, right?
no,
So it shouldn't scare anybody, really. It's just a planning tool, that's all it is,
Yes.
correct?
The ordinance has some pretty strong language that
I'm
if
gonna,
you didn't understand, like if I was just a layperson that read it for the first time without any context, it would be like, oh my goodness, this is pretty serious. But when it comes down to reality, like if you actually look at what's written in the municipal planning code about what this is, it's just a planning tool.
Well, I would like to read the ordinance before I make any kind of decision.
Well, do you have a motion to that effect that we should table this
Yeah.
and,
I move that we table this till we've had a chance to read the ordinance, the relevant information that we can look
Do you
at.
wanna read the transcript? It'd be it's gonna be, it's certainly worth like bedside.
If you recommend it, is it that thick or?
It's pretty thick.
Well,
it is,
It's because like me and Pat were talking about, this is a formal public hearing, there's a transcriber, it's the full 90, like, when this gets adopted, there has to be a hearing. And there's a lot of people there at the hearing, they were going back and forth, it was a lengthy discussion. And so it might be worthwhile to read it, I think you all find it, I found it entertaining.
Well-
okay, I'm.
Well,
motion, do we have a second?
I make a motion. Oh,
Wait, wait,
I mean, we have a
I
motion
second
already
that
on the
motion,
floor.
yes.
Second motion, discussion?
Yes. I make a suggestion. Can you email us a copy of the whole ordinance
And the transcript,
and the trans,
the
yes.
hearing transcript, so you can understand the
The,
controversy.
yes, the ordinance and the transcript.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so,
That's what he was,
Yeah.
That's what I was making the motion
Yeah.
about.
yeah, so you, and you seconded it, okay? Any more discussion?
I just wanted to clear it in my brain.
You did,
Okay, good.
okay, all in favor?
I,
I think that's a good step forward.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the ordinance here on 360. And it's chapter 30. And chapter 30 is a lot.
Okay,
It's-
Well, that's something to look forward to, isn't it?
okay, so we're tabling that discussion. We're gonna have homework and we'll have it on the agenda next time.
Yeah, and your meeting's only in 2 weeks. It's almost, I think it's actually less than 14 days from today. So,
We had a lot of reading.
Well,
Yeah.
on a hot day, we won't wanna do anything else.
it's the 15th, so your next meeting's the 15th of July,
Okay, so by 7:15, we should have read that.
7:15. I'm actually gonna be away starting tomorrow, so I will get it to you on Monday.
Okay,
So you'll have 7 days. I wouldn't really worry too much, but I can summarize the ordinance for you all. Just, if you wanna just read the transcript, that'd probably be my ask. I think if you, I mean, you could read through the ordinance, don't like take this as, don't, but
The ordinance is online already.
yeah, the ordinance is already there, but it is.
what is the ordinance number?
It's a
Chapter 30.
chapter, yeah,
chapter.
because it were codified, so it's
What did you
chapter,
say it was?
Official map, chapter 30,
yeah.
3 or 30?
30.
But I do think that if you're serious, like, it is good for you guys to get an idea of what you're in.
I would have,
for.
it would have been easier if I'd known that, to do that before I made my presentation. I would have cited all the,
Well, you did fine in your presentation. I thought you did a good job.
thank you. But
In practice, it still is just.
I would have been more convincing, because I would have had the ammunition.
Well, I convinced me. Okay, so, that's the end of the agenda, except for council member comments. We good with you?
Well. Okay, since we had a kind of an off-topic discussion about the farm, I was just gonna suggest, Eric, that the Historical Society might have more information about the place. And not only that,
Mhm.
they offer awards every year for restored historic buildings in the county.
Oh, great.
And they have grant money that's sometimes available too.
Mhm.
So if you join the Historical Society, I think for $20 a year, you get the privileges and you can find out more about your property from those
Okay.
guys.
Yeah,
They might have pictures.
They might have those too.
Okay, yeah, I'll
Great.
great.
Sure.
Get that done.
Your
Maybe,
turn, yeah,
I said my piece.
okay, I don't have anything additional. Eric,
No, this goes back a little bit, but I did reach out to the Happy Tales people. I sent them an email.
the what?
The
Oh.
petting zoo.
Yeah,
I sent them an email, the petting zoo.
Oh, good,
So
great,
I'll-
great,
I'll-
great,
I'll-
thank
I'll
you.
let you know, because that would be.
is that farm by your?
Yeah, so we'll find out what they.
No, that'd be helpful.
That's it.
Okay, any public comments? Didn't hear any. Someone wanna move we adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.